I feel sorry to the fans because the fight is boring. The fight is boring. Like that's not the fans are expecting to us.
Pretty certain Terence Crawford in his brain is saying to himself, I can beat this dude. You know what I'm saying? If he actually goes through with it, he'll be 38 years of age next Sunday.
Is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, well, so I'm gonna fight. You beat the shark, you beat the wolf.
Manny Pacquiao didn't hold back when addressing Floyd Mayweather's call-out of Terence Crawford. He mocked the idea, saying fans deserve better than what he predicts would be a dull exhibition. Pacquiao reminded everyone that Floyd has been retired for years and hasn't taken a serious fight in a long time, making the matchup meaningless in his eyes.
The fight is boring. Like that's not the fans are expecting to us. I mean, as a fighter, if I'm a fan, of course I want to see a good fight, like changing fight, not a passion show.
Manny Pacquiao hasn't pulled any punches in criticizing Floyd Mayweather. He said he actually pities the retired champion, arguing that Floyd's priorities revolve entirely around money. According to Pacquiao, Mayweather's return to the ring isn't about legacy or competition, it's about cashing in on exhibition spectacles. He described a potential showdown with Terence Crawford as nothing more than a greed-driven stunt, stripping boxing of its true spirit. In Manny's view, these events turn the sport into a business show, where fighters parade like runway models instead of stepping in as warriors.
Beginning of this conversation, you say, I don't like boastful people. How was it like fighting Mayweather then? Did he get on your nerves? Because I feel like he's a little bit more boastful than the people you might be wanting to hang out with.
Yeah, he's boastful. I think his God is the material things, money, everything like that. I'm pity with him because I want to share the word of God in him if he believe God.
Yeah. I've heard he's a generous man. I think he's done good things. I think, he kind of reminds me of like a lot of people are like this, by the way, including myself. I'm not just saying him. I'm including myself. The man who goes up to Jesus and says, what should I do to get into heaven? He says, sell all your belongings. And he walked away crying because he couldn't sell his belongings.
Exactly.
Announcement of a Floyd Mayweather versus Mike Tyson showdown in 2026 sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Analysts were quick to note that this isn't a clash between two fighters at their peak, but rather an entertainment spectacle built for revenue. The fight is being billed as a warm-up for Mayweather before a potential matchup with Terence Crawford later in the year. Observers argue that both events are less about sporting significance and more about financial gain, with massive pay-per-view numbers expected. Still, Tyson's legendary aura and Mayweather's global brand guarantee that the spectacle will dominate headlines and capture worldwide attention.
As for Jake and Tyson and some people like the likes of Carl Froch viewed that as an endorsement. Like, look, man, I'm just working. It's a big opportunity to be on Netflix. I didn't put the fight together. I'm not paying these guys. So, let's chill out. But all right, I'm not going to poo-poo this. I just don't know what CSI is. And the way it was presented made me think that there was like a secondary press release to come, that they'll be involved in like some sort of like virtual boxing thing. Like, it just didn't seem real. You know why it didn't seem real? I'll tell you why. There's no date attached to it. There's no venue attached to it. Forget rules, exhibition, not exhibition, weight. I mean, here's a guy who fought a heavyweight forget all that. These things can get figured out, the fine details. The fact that it was announced, why announce something with no date or location attached to it? What's the point? Unless you're just trying to get people excited and trying to get them, trying to get some investors or something like that.
But maybe also testing the waters. If the response was overwhelmingly positive, maybe you go, okay, we move forward. If the response is muted or negative, maybe you go, okay, we're not going to actually do this. You lob it out there as a way to poll the public, and then make an adjustment.
You don't think it happens?
I do not think it happens. I just don't think there will be enough interest. I know they have huge name value. There's zero, after the last performance by Mike Tyson against Jake Paul, I don't think there's going to be interest in seeing Mike Tyson do that again.
Terence Crawford has never hidden his admiration for Manny Pacquiao. Speaking on the Filipino legend, Crawford highlighted that Pacquiao's career stands in a league of its own. Pacquiao not only captured titles across multiple weight divisions, but did so while consistently taking on bigger, stronger opponents and winning against the odds. Crawford emphasized that Manny's success was both historic and nearly impossible to replicate. In his view, Pacquiao achieved greatness in a unique era by accepting challenges few fighters would even dare to face.
The world, not me, but shocked the world. This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, what he took on defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majamov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford. And that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big guy, right?
The idea of Terence Crawford stepping into the ring with David Benavidez has quickly become one of the hottest debates in boxing circles. Benavidez, with his size, youth, and relentless aggression, is widely regarded as one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport today. Many believe such a matchup would push Crawford in ways no previous opponent ever has. While the buzz continues to grow, nothing has been officially confirmed, leaving the matchup as pure speculation for now. Still, the conversation itself reflects the appetite among boxing fans for meaningful, high-stakes fights that go beyond exhibitions and celebrity-driven spectacles.
Because you got to remember, Canelo is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, you know, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Damn. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit gotta make sense. That's like you said, you be the shark and then you be the wolf.
Yeah.
But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, that's to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what
a monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend.
Sure, man.
But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Your line of suits, get your money, man. Go ahead and get the easy money, man. You ain't gotta sweat no more.
What's up?
Not saying you ain't gotta work, you ain't gotta sweat.
What's happening?
He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just whatever, doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then is fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore, when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen. He gonna feel like his coach taking it too serious, and he like, man, this ain't even that. But your coach like, listen, you could get fucked up. I'm telling you, you don't want to listen. Then you go in there and fight that guy. Then you get. I seen it happen.
Trainer Greg Hackett didn't hold back in his praise after Terence Crawford's stunning victory over Canelo Alvarez. He compared Canelo to a shark, a symbol of dominance who had ruled the sport with strength and skill for years. For Hackett, the fact that Crawford not only faced Canelo but dismantled him signals a dramatic shift at the very top of boxing. Defeating the man once seen as untouchable now makes Crawford the new predator in the waters, the fighter every contender must fear. But Hackett's comments raise a bigger question. If Crawford could conquer the toughest opponent of his generation, who's left to truly test him? Fans are left wondering whether Crawford will seek out new challenges or walk away on top, undefeated in dominance.
I think there was enough action, and I think Crawford displayed his skill enough, even to someone with not the most trained eye, that they know they saw a very high-level athlete perform something at a very high level last night. I think he gained the sports world's attention last night and respect. He already did after Spence, but it went to another level in this fight.
And I think even the fight itself, like just from a median level, but then the moments where they were having these exchanges, like kind of late in the fight, then people were like, all right, it was good. Then like, okay, I saw somebody like, they're squabbing, like there's a fight here. So I think it did.
And Crawford closed the show.
Yeah.
In 10, 11, 12, he stood in there and landed some hard shots and rocked Canelo at the bell. He didn't. James was talking about the great Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would go up on you 8-0 and then coast, and you might as well turn the fight off at midway through the ninth. Like, you know, he's not gonna. But Crawford didn't do that. But he wasn't up 8-0, to be fair to Floyd. But Floyd was when he fought Canelo, so he could do that. But Bud instead steps on the gas. Bud is a finisher. You know, he closes really strong. He closes really strong in every exchange. That's one of his gifts. He's the best counterpuncher of his era, one of the greatest counterpunchers that lived. But the great fighters, James would tell us about this. James and Mike McCallum put on fights that exemplify what I'm talking about: initiating and punctuating, being first, being last. That's one of the things that makes Crawford who he is. So no, I think it was a good enough fight that it certainly didn't hurt boxing.
Yeah, I think Sport of Boxing delivered last night. I mean, Crawford didn't deliver.
Yeah,
Manny,
he did.
Analysts widely agree that Terence Crawford's dominant victory over Canelo Alvarez was a defining moment of his career, one that ended any serious debate about his place in boxing history. Before this, Crawford had already silenced doubters with his flawless win over Errol Spence, but beating Canelo carried a different weight. Canelo had long been considered one of the sport's most dangerous pound-for-pound fighters, a champion who thrived across divisions and regularly took on bigger, stronger opponents. Crawford not only met that challenge, he dismantled Canelo in a way few thought possible. In doing so, he proved his greatness isn't confined to a single weight class or style. He showcased adaptability, technical brilliance, and mental toughness at the very highest level. Today, there's little dispute, Crawford stands among the rare fighters who have conquered every challenge placed before them.
Matchup between Prime Mayweather and Prime Crawford, I've tended to lean slightly towards Mayweather. But after that performance there against Canelo, not just the fact he won, the manner in which he won, I've changed my mind. I would now lean towards Prime Crawford over Mayweather. And the reason I say this is because of the expert way in which Terence Crawford mixed offensive in the pocket boxing with defensive on the move boxing. Not running, save for maybe a round or two. No, just moving nicely. Because if there's one area of Floyd Mayweather's game that was underdeveloped, it's his front foot game. Whenever Mayweather was forced to walk an opponent down, what he did was actually very basic. He would hold his hands up and he would walk forward throwing straight right hands. Okay, they were accurate straight right hands. They were well-timed straight right hands. But there wasn't a whole heap of head movement. There wasn't a whole heap of creative or dynamic footwork, coming forward, walking somebody down. No, it was very, very basic stuff. And I don't think an approach that basic would have worked against, let's say, a Tommy Hearns, who was 6'1", 6'2", 78-inch reach, massive puncher, good hand speed. So I always thought that a prime Tommy Hearns would beat prime Mayweather, because I can't see Mayweather doing what Ray Leonard did, grabbing the bull by the horns and taking it to Tommy Hearns. Can't see him doing that. And if he did try and do it, he's going to get clipped. Tommy Hearns hit so hard, that guard from Mayweather wouldn't be enough, in my opinion. And I never saw Mayweather on the front foot moving his head a lot. When he's in the middle of the ring or on the back foot, when he's being defensive, yeah, that's when he moves his head. The famous Philly shell defense, the shoulder roll and all that. But coming forward, no, it's a lot more basic. Go watch Mayweather's old fights, you'll see what I'm talking about. Whenever he's forced to come forward, it's basic stuff. And so, after watching Crawford's performance against Canelo, I got to thinking, you know what? Maybe Crawford employs similar tactics if he fights a prime Mayweather.
The debate between Terence Crawford Crawford and Floyd Mayweather has become one of the most captivating conversations in modern boxing. Supporters of Mayweather highlight his defensive genius, impeccable timing, and unmatched ring IQ. Tools that allowed him to dictate fights, neutralize opponents, and retire undefeated. Floyd's mastery of control and precision turned world-class challengers into frustrated spectators inside the ring. On the other hand, many argue that Crawford's adaptability, punching power, and calm composure could have made him Mayweather's toughest test. His ability to switch stances seamlessly, apply pressure in calculated bursts, and finish opponents with ruthless efficiency sets him apart from nearly anyone Floyd ever faced. Crawford's unpredictability, they argue, may have forced Mayweather into uncomfortable exchanges he typically avoided. In truth, the comparison reveals two different shades of greatness. Mayweather built his legend on control, precision, and flawless execution. Crawford thrives on versatility, aggression, and high-level adjustments. The debate may never have a definitive answer, but it reflects the immense respect both fighters command across generations.
Sheik said, deliver the job to Terence Crawford. The fighters think showbiz.
Saturday, deliver the job.
Y'all missed the most important part. It's when he said, don't retire.
No retirement.
This is what you guys are missing. Turkey Al-Sheikh was trying to say, return the favor.
You must return it, yeah.
Bud interrupted him by saying the job ain't done, which prompted Turkey Al-Sheikh to say, yeah, deliver the job. But that's not what he was on. He was on the first part, return the favor. But Turkey, in a second thought, he goes back to Bud and he says, and don't retire.
No retirement.
That's what Turkey meant when he was trying to say, return the favor. I did this for you. You got this big fight, but don't retire. Return the favor.
With his accomplishments piling up, Terence Crawford now stands at a crossroads. Fans are eager to see him chase new challenges, whether it's David Benavidez, Jermall Charlo, or other marquee names. But there's another possibility: retirement. At 37, Crawford has little left to prove. He could walk away from the sport on his own terms, leaving with his legacy intact and his status as one of boxing's great secure. That uncertainty fuels both excitement and anxiety among fans. On one hand, they dream of seeing Crawford in more high-stakes showdowns. On the other, they worry the sport might lose one of its few active legends at a time when boxing is desperate for blockbuster fights.
I bet that Ilia Topuria could knock Terence Crawford out, no chance. If I had to bet Ilia Topuria versus Terence Crawford, I'm betting Terence Crawford. I mean, he's the best boxer in the world, and this is what he does, and he's done his entire life. But we also knew that about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. We knew, right, deep down, that Conor McGregor was not going to knock out Floyd Mayweather. But because of what we had seen him do inside of the octagon, we had seen him do to all those great fighters in MMA, when he walked into that ring, people thought he had a chance. He didn't really have a chance. Conor never had a chance against Floyd Mayweather. And it would feel that way with Topuria. But you could at least sell that there's a chance because of how good he is in boxing and how he knocks people out inside the UFC. Initially, I thought Bud Crawford would just no-sell Ilia Topuria, right? When you're the king and everybody's calling your name, you can literally just ignore them and nobody will say anything about it. But Bud Crawford isn't one to ignore.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates, breakdowns, and debates from the world of boxing and combat sports. Until next time.